It is Monday, August 28th, and this is a Fox News alert. More danger on the way for Texas. Millions waking up to another scene of epic flooding as thousands of state and National Guard service members descend on the scene of Hurricane Harvey.
Hurricane Harvey, now a tropical storm, bringing catastrophic flooding to Houston with no sign of relief in sight.
We were trapped in a house with rising water. It became very dangerous very fast. They should have told the city to evacuate.
We'll rebuild. It's going to take time.
If you drive into water, you're taking your life into your own hands.
You are watching Fox and Friends First. I'm Heather Childers.
And I'm Jackie Ibanez in for Rob Schmidt this morning. President Trump now preparing to head directly into the disaster zone.
And we have live Fox News team coverage for you this morning. Janice Dean, of course, tracking the very latest. We have Casey Stiegel live in Dickinson, Texas.
And Rob Schmidt live in Rosenberg.
Fire trucks can't get out, and these residents are going to come out and understand what has happened overnight with a controlled release of the Addicks and Barker reservoirs, because they're releasing this water because they're worried that the dams will break. If the dams break, downtown Houston floods, and that is apparently a better option at this point than to flood the Southwest and some other neighborhoods intentionally on top of the expected rain that is going to add more torrential downpour and further flooding, with thousands of people being rescued just blocks from here. If I could just reach over for 1 second, Monica, I know you're a resident and this is live TV and you were just walking up the street, but have you heard the news that they're going to they've already begun to release water out of the Bayou Dam and more flooding is coming? I trust you live here. Have you decided what you're going to do, and are you frightened this morning?
Well, actually, I was just, I went to my friend's house. He lives in Holt. It's like a few blocks from here. And the water is to my waist. And I went over there because it's not power, and to drop off a phone charger.
Drop off a phone charger. Do you know if did she mention about what she's going to do now with their releasing water from the dams to intentionally flood the already flooding Buffalo Bayou?
Well, I don't think he doesn't know. I don't think he knows. Yeah, because, it's no power, it's no news. He doesn't know anything.
Monica, are you okay? Are you guys doing okay? Martha, I apologize.
Yes, it's a little bit scary over there because the water is really deep and it's dark, but yeah, we're fine.
Thank you, Martha. Guys, that is exactly what we're talking about. The situation, a resident that Martha brought a phone charger to someone stuck here that's been told to stay put, is going to wake up and be told, by the way, you may want to leave with nowhere to go in this horrible situation that Harvey has brought, guys.
Well, and she makes a good point, Griff. I mean, people don't have access to television. They don't have power. I know the phone service out across massive areas, so they're not going to know what's going on top of it.
How does he even charge his phone, I'm wondering?
Yeah.
No electricity.
All right. Thank you so much, Griff.
That's right. A lot of people don't know what's coming.
Yeah, we'll check back with you. Well, first, though, we want to check with Janice Dean, of course, who can tell us about the very latest in terms of, along with the voluntary or the controlled releases, you have additional rain coming.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's not a good situation any way you look at it. And they have received over 2 feet of rain in this area. The National Weather Service had it right. And at times it didn't look like it could possibly come true, but it did. Over 2 feet of rainfall in a very short period of time. We're dealing with a year's worth of rain in just a matter of hours. They were seeing 4 to 6 inches an hour of rainfall, which is meteorologically insane. That is what we're going to be dealing with, unfortunately, over the next couple of days. The center of circulation forecast to move into the Gulf of Mexico. It actually could pick up some winds and days. The center of circulation forecast to move into the Gulf of Mexico. It actually could pick up some winds and bring in more moisture from the Gulf of Mexico. We're just hoping it moves a little bit more eastward and gives Houston a break. Although I want to make mention that our folks west of Houston, north of Houston, east of Houston, also getting tremendous flooding and tremendous numbers. So we're watching you as well. But you can see the heaviest rain band right now just east of Houston. So they're getting a bit of a break. Not for long, though. Unfortunately, we have more rain in the forecast. The threat for tornadoes as well. A tornado-warned storm earlier on just around the Beaumont area, right here, south of Beaumont. So we see these tornadoes, weak tornadoes, but still the potential for damage, and we have seen over, dozens of reports of tornadoes, unfortunately. And people are, usually I tell people to go into your basement to the lowest portion of your home, but right now the flooding is the biggest threat. You have to go to the highest portion of your home. So, there's no words for this situation, unfortunately, ladies. It boggles the mind. I just hope for the safety of everyone, and hopefully the message will get across that we still have to prepare for days of rain in this area.
And I can't imagine being on top of your roof and having absolutely nowhere else to go. If you were in like a 2- or 3-story home thinking, okay, I've got a couple of stories. Now you're on a roof, you have nowhere to go.
Yeah, nowhere else.
It's a tragedy unfolding.
Thank you, Janice. Well, disturbing images from inside the disaster zone. Look at this, showing helpless nursing home patients trapped in dirty, waist-deep water.
Yeah, this was an amazing story. Several coming out. Casey Stiegel joins us now with our live team coverage, live in Dickinson, Texas, with details on this dramatic rescue. Casey, tell us the story behind it.
Ladies, just incredible. Dickinson, Texas, first of all, is back here. This is the exit off of the interstate to get to it, and it is flooded out. It's the spot yesterday where we saw boat after boat after boat being launched into the floodwaters to carry out these rescues. My photojournalist, Jeremy Pollard, got on one of those rescue boats. We want to show you some video because you still can't even get into Dickinson, at least from Interstate 45, by car. It's only by boat. And people were just sitting there waiting to be picked up from all of these volunteers who heard the calls for help. Across a man who was just sitting on the roof of his truck, and people that were just waiting for anyone to come by and pull them to safety and pull them to dry land. So these have been numerous search and rescue operations going on, and we started to see images on social media of a nursing home here in Dickinson, and people were just heartbroken by it. We saw elderly patients sitting in water, and it went viral, and it didn't take long before help to arrive. Listen.
We were having trouble getting in touch with anybody who would answer a phone call for rescue. We decided to go ahead and tweet it just because we thought at least then we could get someone's attention. It's frightening. I mean, imagine your mom a few states away, with all of these residents and the poor residents. I mean, it's just so heartbreaking to see them.
The power of social media. Just think if we had Twitter or something like that during Hurricane Katrina. I know there are a lot of parallels being made, and it is an incredible sense of urgency out here. But right now, curfews in effect throughout most of the areas. So it's quiet now, but you bet at the first start of sun and the first break of dawn, we're going to have lots of people out here doing it all over again.
Well, Casey,
Ladies.
just to give everybody an update, all those patients are okay? Those elderly patients that were rescued?
And how many did they have? Those nursing homes have a lot of patients.
I apologize for that. I thought that was included there. The woman that you heard from was one of the daughters of one of those ladies at the home, and we are happy to report that they were all successfully evacuated and safe and sound. Don't have an exact number of how many were there, but everyone has been accounted for, we understand, and they are safe this morning.
God bless them. They have a lot of equipment that need to go with them too, some oxygen, and wow.
Thanks to the power of social media, though, like you said. Well, Governor Greg Abbott, meantime, warning the most brutal storm to hit Texas. It's not over yet. The meteorologist also saying it days of drenching downpours packed with historic flooding still ahead.
Water already taking a toll on roads, opening this massive sinkhole. That's where Rob Schmidt picks up our team coverage this morning live in Rosenberg, Texas. Rob?
Yeah, guys, getting soaked again. These bands keep coming through. It'll be dry. Now it's raining again. And look at the power of water behind me. It really illustrates it perfectly. Just an incredible vision to see this hole open up. This was a little stream that went underneath this roadway. And the power of all that water just exposed it, exposed the sinkhole. And then the road came down with it. Just an incredible image. And, you know, as we're seeing all this, we're seeing all of this rain, which was predicted. You know, the National Weather Service, they made some great calls. Our people at Fox News made some great calls on how much water we'd get. Now there's criticism of the Houston representatives and you know, the leaders here for not evacuating. We're seeing all these people getting into these situations have to be rescued. Here is the governor talking a little bit about that.
We moved beyond whether or not there should have been an evacuation or not. And we are at the stage where we just need to respond to the emergencies and necessities the people of Houston have. But again, it's not just people around Houston.
Well, yeah, and it's not. The problem is widespread, and when you go down to where we first started this whole endeavor in Rockport and Port Aransas, areas like that, Aransas Pass, they were evacuated, and rightfully so. People came back to their homes decimated. That same call wasn't made here in Houston, and you're seeing the result of all these rescues having to be made. So we're going to have to wait and see what happens with the local leaders here and how they're going to be held accountable for that, if they should be. Guys, we'll send it back to you.
Yeah, Port Aransas and Rockport devastated. All right, thank you so much.
Yep.
Well, the hurricane also causing some chaos out on the high seas. 20,000 people are stranded on cruise ships. They're unable to dock in flood-ravaged Galveston, Texas. Some of those ships have been rerouted to New Orleans to replenish the supplies and let some of the passengers off. Another ship headed off to Miami. Officials hope to reopen the port of Galveston tomorrow.
I heard some of those people can't get off till Friday. Can you imagine, Heather? And this powerful photo showing a little boy doing all he can to stay dry as water creeps into his house in Dickinson, Texas. The little guy clutching to his stuffed animal monkey while sitting on a counter in the kitchen. Brown, muddy water you see there halfway up the cabinets.
Let's hope they ended up okay.
Yeah.
Well, sending more help from 1,000 miles away. New York City police officers and firefighters are headed to Houston to assist in the hurricane relief and rescues. 120 first responders specially trained to help in catastrophic events, packing up rescue supplies, food, tools, and boats. They could be stationed in Texas for up to 3 weeks.
Surreal before and after photo showing just how devastating the flooding has become. In this one here on your left, you can see Memorial Parkway in Houston. This is what it looked like on Saturday. The photo on the right is the same parkway just 1 day later, 24 hours. And this one showing severe highways in a river before the storm there. That river turning the entire area into a lake as the water rises. You would never even guess there's a road there.
That's why they need more boats to get people out. Well, the time now is 12 minutes after the top. Closed due to Harvey's floodwaters. What that means for you coming up.
And thousands forced to flee their homes as Texas grapples with catastrophic flooding. We've been talking about it all morning long. How the White House is kicking into high gear to see the state through the crisis. We're live in Houston next.
Welcome back to Fox and Friends. First, President Trump heading to Texas tomorrow to get a firsthand look at the catastrophic flooding, the destruction left behind by Hurricane Harvey.
And we're now learning it could take years for Texas to recover. Doug Lazader continues our team coverage live from Houston this morning. Doug.
Good morning. We are in downtown Houston, and look at the floodwaters behind me. Now, believe it or not, we've seen these waters drop just ever so slightly this morning, but that's going to change through the course of the day, most likely, because this storm is moving so slowly. It's just going to keep on dumping rain in this area. The governor of Texas has mobilized the National Guard to assist in rescue efforts and just kind of dealing with the aftermath of this storm. But even he acknowledges the massive challenges that lie ahead.
We're measuring rain these days not in inches but in feet, and we are prepared to deal with that in multiple ways. We're deploying boats and helicopters to be involved in swift water rescues, and that will be not just in the Houston and Harris County area, but that will be arrayed all across East Texas where you can see all that heavy flooding.
Yeah, but of course there's a huge focus on Houston because it is a massive population center. And this is going to take a while. And you hear the governor there talking about mobilizing air resources and water resources. Well, they've also called on volunteers to get out to try to get into some of these floodwaters to rescue people. So this is going to be a long-term effort. Resources being mobilized at the state level, the federal level as well. FEMA has been deploying resources. And, of course, we're preparing for the visit of President Trump here tomorrow, and his concern was that it would take away from the flood response. So they're trying to make sure that this is done with the least impact possible. So back to you guys.
All right, Doug Luzader live for us. Thank you, Doug.
Thank you so much. And now to some other stories making headlines this morning. President Trump is bringing back surplus military equipment to local police departments. The program, which supplies cops with armored vehicles, grenades, launchers, and high-caliber weapons, was disbanded by the Obama administration. Attorney General Jeff Sessions will announce the policy change at the Fraternal Order of Police Conference in Nashville today.
Well, the bodies of all 10 missing sailors are now recovered following the USS John McCain's deadly collision in the South China Sea. U.S. Navy and Marine Corps divers recovering their remains from the ship's flooded compartments. Last week, the ship slammed into an oil tanker, was off the coast of Singapore. This is the Navy's fourth major incident in the region this year.
A massive 10-day protest march from Washington, D.C. kicks off from Charlottesville this morning. The goal? Well, to get President Trump out of office. It's all in response to the deadly clashes in Virginia earlier this month. This after a town hall in Charlottesville quickly turns heated. Listen.
Not a single person here is innocent of having some kind of hate.
Any person on this planet can get their DNA checked. You will have African ancestry. So this whole white supremacist, this whole you're so like superior to me, it's a fallacy.
Very heated. Those two men shouting at each other after they finished speaking. They had to be broken up by people in the crowd, we're told. Virginia Governor Terry McAuliffe also sending a new warning. If you committed violence in Charlottesville, he says we will find you and arrest you. Not mincing words.
Well, the time now is about 20 minutes after the top of the hour. You know, flood victims forced to pay $100 for a case of water.
It's time of crisis, and you go buy up all the water, and you gonna sit and you selling this high.
It is wrong, wrong, wrong. And the Texas Attorney General is now saying enough is enough.